All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are breaking down a really interesting new proposal, one that wants to give every single American newborn a stake in the stock market. They're called Trump accounts.
And the vision behind this whole thing is, well, it's massive. The idea is to create, and I'm quoting here, the biggest merger in history, Main Street and Wall Street. So we're talking about fundamentally changing how the American economy works.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll start with that big vision, then get into what these accounts actually are. We'll look at where the money comes from, how it's supposed to grow, and finally, what this new ownership economy is all about.
So let's start with that big idea. The thinking is that for too long, Wall Street and Main Street have kind of been on these parallel tracks. One can be booming while the other struggles. This proposal wants to fuse them together so that when one succeeds, the other one does too, automatically.
Okay, so what exactly are these Trump accounts? Let's get right into the core concept and the official definition that's being put forward.
Right, so according to the proposal, this isn't a government handout. That's a really key distinction they're making. It's framed as a platform for individual ownership. The idea is to give every newborn a real material stake in the economy from day one, with the ultimate goal of making every single American a shareholder.
And the goal is incredibly ambitious. Right now, about 38% of American adults don't own any stocks at all. The plan here is to take that number and drive it all the way down to zero. Not just reduce it, but eliminate it. And this chart really just spells it out, doesn't it? You see that 38% bar on the left, and then you see the goal on the right, zero. This really visualizes the sheer scale of what's being proposed. It's not about making a small dent. It's about a complete transformation to universal stock ownership over a generation.
Okay, so this all sounds great, but the big question is, where does the money come from, right? Well, the proposal outlines a four-part strategy for capitalizing these accounts. Let's dig into those four pillars.
So here they are, the four pillars. It starts with an initial seed from the government. Then it opens up to private donations, think parents, grandparents, even employers. After that, you have major philanthropy coming in. And finally, the plan is to get state governments involved too.
Let's talk about that first pillar, the government seed money. Who's eligible? Well, according to the proposal, it's for kids born in a specific 4-year window, from 2025 to the end of 2028. And how do you claim it? They want to make it super simple. Just check a box on a tax form, that's it.
Now, beyond that initial government money, the plan really relies on private contributions to supercharge these accounts. Parents, family, even friends and employers can chip in up to $5,000 a year. And there's this idea of employer matching, which, sounds a lot like a 401k. And this is really important. While the seed is for newborns, anyone can open an account for any child under 18.
And then we get to philanthropy, and this is a huge piece of the puzzle. We're talking about a $6.25 times billion-dollar pledge from Susan and Michael Dell. The source material calls this the single largest private commitment to American children ever. That money alone is meant to help fund accounts for 25 million kids.
So this isn't just about one big donation. The plan is to turn this into a national campaign called the 50-State Challenge to get philanthropists in every single state on board. And on top of that, about 20 states are apparently already looking at adding their own contributions or top-ups to these accounts. So you can see how all these layers are meant to build on each other.
Okay, we've got the funding figured out. Now let's get to the part that makes this whole thing so compelling, the power of compounding. We're going to look at how this money is projected to grow over a lifetime.
So it all starts with this, $1,000. That's the initial seed money from the government for each kid. And it doesn't just sit there in cash. It's immediately invested in a low-cost index fund, which basically just mirrors the performance of the overall stock market.
Now this right here is the absolute key to all the projections we're about to see. The math is all based on one big assumption, that the stock market will continue to grow at its historical average of 10.5% per year. That's based on how the S&P 500 has done since the 1950s. Of course, we all know past performance is no guarantee of future results, but this is the number they're using for the forecast.
So if that 10.5% growth rate holds up, what happens to that initial $1,000? Well, get this. By the time that child reaches retirement age, that single $1,000 investment is projected to be worth over $600,000. Just from that one seed, untouched. That's compounding in action.
But it gets even crazier. What if a family is able to contribute the maximum private amount every year? Well, according to the projections, that account could be worth over $1 million by the time the owner is just 28 years old. A millionaire before 30? That's the potential they're highlighting.
Okay, the numbers are obviously pretty eye-popping. But this proposal is about more than just creating wealth. The intended long-term impact is to build what's being called a new ownership economy. Let's look at what that really means.
So it's really 4 big ideas rolled into one. First, it's about financial literacy, teaching kids about investing and compound growth just by having an account. Second, it's about making the American dream more attainable. At age 28, the money can be used for a down payment on a house, education, or just kept for retirement. Third, there's this really interesting angle on shared growth. As technology like AI and robotics makes companies more productive, the value of their stock goes up. Under this system, everyone would get a piece of that growth. And finally, the ultimate goal is to secure the whole American experiment, as they put it, for centuries to come.
So, when you boil it all down, the core message here is about restoring the American dream. The idea is to make it something tangible, something accessible to every single citizen, starting from the moment they're born.
And this final statement from the announcement really sums up the sheer scale of the vision. It's framing this not just as a financial policy, but as a path to a golden age of prosperity and opportunity. It's a very big promise.
Which leaves us with this final, big question to think about. Could a system like this, one of universal investment accounts, truly reshape the American dream for the next generation? It's a fascinating idea that aims to give every citizen a direct stake in the economy, right from birth.